Welcome to Wisdom of the Elders with Iya Ifetayo and Iya Efunlayo on Awakening Airways. Welcome. It is with honor that we share insights from what we've learned in life through the system of Reiki and other traditions rooted in our ancestry.
As we all know, healing extends back to the origins of existence and is woven into the fabric of all creation. As elders, we've unlocked many of the wisdom keys, both practical and deeply spiritual, that we will share on this podcast to support the beautiful generations of healers that are now working their way towards eldership. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Greetings and welcome to Awakening Airways, Wisdom of the Elders with Iya Efunlayo and Iya Ifetayo. On this episode, we will be diving deep into Reiki and distance healing. We welcome you to come sit with us and receive the wisdom. Would you love to move us into this topic, beloved Iya?
Yes, it's wonderful to be here with you again. So, distance healing. Distance healing is a powerful, powerful thing. And it's an amazing thing that you're already familiar with. So, if you are new to Reiki or this is your first time hearing about Reiki, Reiki is an energy healing system. And when we talk about distance healing, we all know at this point that there's no real distance and
Yes.
time. We're all in the same universe, in the same dimension.
Yes.
And this issue of wondering about distance and time is actually an illusion. So
Yes.
that's why here in this century, we're able to actually demonstrate that by we're on Zoom. And so
Yes.
we can be in the same place at the same time. And so we're all connected because of the life force energy, the source energy that connects us literally. Even though we can't see it, some of us can feel it sometimes. And so distance healing is about that aspect of you can send healing or share healing with another person without being in the same physical space.
Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful, a beautiful explanation. Um, the gratitude for our practice of Reiki for all of these years, so we can speak from a place of grounded experience on this particular subject matter as it pertains to Reiki and um, sharing Reiki with folks who are not physically present with us. It's very powerful. And if you can remember, Ia, I don't know, back in the day when I first became Reiki and when my friends were becoming Reiki, there was no Zoom, there was no computer. Actually, we had telephones, there were no cell phones.
No.
We were talking on landlines and distance healing was taking place over a landline phone. So at that time, the teaching was from the Western tradition, because at that time, that was the tradition that we all had, that you have a proxy, that
Yeah.
you bring a proxy into your space because you're not going to see the person, you're not going to sit with the person. So the capacity to be aware and to know that we are all in the same space at the same time with no distance, to bridge that um, understanding, we were asked to have a proxy. And the proxy could be anything from a photo of the person that we are sharing distance healing with to a stuffed animal, a teddy bear, anything that we wanted to have represent that person in our space. So that was the early on instruction
Yeah.
for distance healing. And as we all know, we do have in our Reiki 2 teachings, we learn three symbols. And one of those symbols is what we refer to as the distance healing symbol.
Yes.
Um, so we were at the same time in the Reiki 2 class when we were instructed in the process of distance healing, we were also given and practiced the three Reiki symbols, including, and particularly including um, the the symbol for distance healing. We were also instructed at that time, those folks who were interested in developing their capacity for intuitive readings. This was also a part of our Reiki 2, in my lineage, anyhow, the Reiki 2 instruction. So it was pretty much the same protocol um, for distance healing. And I'm not going to go a lot into that piece right now, but just understand that if we were taught the same protocol with a proxy, and also particularly invoking the mantra of the distance healing symbol.
Yeah.
So this is just a little history and background of the evolution of the beginning
Yes.
of our instruction in distance healing, and over time. Um, Beautifully, as everything evolves, there is nothing in life that is not changing, and prayerfully and gratefully, this is the truth.
Yes.
So, Reiki practice has also evolved and changed. Now, I am aware that some folks are still practicing in the manner that I just described, and there is not one thing wrong with that. We honor and accept all ways of practice of Reiki. And the evolution of Reiki has brought us into the space that Iya Efulayo just described, where we are very aware of and conscious of the fact that there is truly no time, space, or distance on this planet, in the universe, except for the fact that on this planet we inhabit this physical body, which needs points of reference.
Yes.
So for us not to just float away, or not to have an awareness of where we are or what time it is, we have points of reference, which are time, space, and distance. But
Yeah,
in
it
the
helps with the communication so that
yes,
you're understanding what we're speaking of,
yes,
especially when you have
thank you,
people coming from different walks of life with
thank you,
different understandings. We as humans had to develop language to explain what
yes,
concepts that we find that we may have a difference of opinion on, but
mhm,
usually you wind up getting that, oh yeah, I understand that if you find the
mhm.
right words. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So I like the way you say that with points of reference. Yeah.
And I love how
And also too that for me in my Reiki master teacher was also a person who was a minister, non-denominational minister. And one of the ways that she helped us to connect with the Reiki distance healing was it's as prayer. So just how you pray for someone who's not physically, say if somebody will call you on the phone and say,
yes,
oh, I'm getting ready to have surgery or I'm having a challenging time, will you pray for me?
yes,
And most people are familiar with, at whatever point in life where the Reiki is seen mostly as a hands-on healing modality, but it's not just that. That's why we're
mhm,
talking about distance
mhm,
healing today. And just in the sense of prayer,
yes,
you can pray for someone by laying hands on them or holding their hand or touching an area of their body. You can also send a prayer across the globe. And I think everybody's had the experience of a parent or a grandparent or other loved one who you think about, and then they call you
yes,
or they're praying for you and you feel it, and you makes you think, oh, why am I thinking about so and so? And then you find out that at that time that person was also talking about you or thinking about you or praying for you. And I don't know
yes,
about you, Ia, but in a time past in Reiki, early on, there was a controversy.
Yes.
about distance healing and
Yes.
whether you need to have the person's uh,
Yes.
permission or not.
Yes. Yes.
And we were taught methods for gaining permission from someone that, say, for instance, if someone was incapacitated and you wanted to pray for them, but they could not give consent, or maybe
Yes.
you felt uncomfortable asking them for consent. And so, one of the ways I remember being taught is that you visualize the person and you ask their spirit
Mhm.
for permission to send
Yes.
healing. And you look for a sign. Either the person will smile at you and
Mhm.
as a yes, or they'll tell you a no, or they may turn their back or turn their head away, different symbols, that
Mhm.
signs that we were taught to look for. But over time, I've come to a different opinion about that. If you can literally pray or think positive thoughts or send positive energy to someone without asking their permission, why do I need permission to send Reiki? Because it's all the same thing. And so, what I was also taught later is that if you send Reiki to someone who doesn't want that energy for whatever
Yes.
reason, they,
Yes.
they will reject the energy. Their own life force will reject that energy and it will go where it's needed. Where you
Yes.
at?
I love that. And the beauty of what you just shared with us, Ia, is that you and I have never had this conversation about
No.
this part of Reiki. And you have spoken exactly my experience and sentiments. Exactly. I had moved. There was the controversy initially, and I always felt inside of myself, and I would teach my Reiki 2 students, if you could pray for someone without asking permission, if you could send a prayer out for someone, why do we need to ask permission to share Reiki with someone
Yeah. Because to me,
without
Reiki's
them knowing?
prayer. Yeah.
It's a prayer, and you have spoken. We are in total agreement, and without having had the conversation,
Right.
and with having different teachers
Yes.
along the way. And this is the beauty of the oneness. This is the beauty of the oneness of particularly between the two of us and also in life. Um so I I love being able because I am a helper. That word, I don't use that word so much, but my heart wants to support whatever's happening with someone. I want to be able to make a positive contribution to whatever someone's going through. So for me, being Reiki and having the tools to know that I could just tune into that person and with my intention send or share Reiki with that person and their situation spontaneously
Yes.
is such a
Yes.
gift,
It
not
is.
only for the receiver, but for me, because I have now felt as though and know that I have contributed positively to this person and their situation. And as Ia mentioned before, I truly trust the spirit of that person and that person to have an agreement of whether or not they want to receive this Reiki energy or not. It's
Exactly.
not my responsibility. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about harming them or bringing something to them that they don't want because they have a spirit and a higher power that makes those decisions for them.
Absolutely. And I was taught and believe that Reiki can do no harm because
Absolutely.
it is life
Yes.
force. It's the thing that gives
Yes.
life to everything and sustains life and
Yes.
everything. So it is not going to harm anything, anyone, any circumstance. And so we don't need to be fearful of that because you can't use Reiki to do harm. Even
Right.
if that was your intention, it's not going to work.
Yes.
It just
And,
won't. Yeah.
and even if we aren't aware of a level of fear that our intended recipient might be carrying about Reiki or other ways, other forms of prayer other than what they're familiar with. We might not be familiar with their level of fear.
Right.
So so from our the purity of our love and the knowing that Reiki can do no harm, we still do not have to worry about that. They
Mhm.
will receive what they can receive if they are
Yes,
open to receive it. We
I
don't even
agree.
have to worry about that at all. So
Yes,
yes,
absolutely. And
yes,
I also, I'm so glad you said that. I also totally believe that when that's why it's important to have your intention clear.
yes,
So with Reiki, you have to have a clear intention so that you can direct the energy properly. So if in your intention statement, whether you say it internally or you say it out loud or you use it in context with something, because I shared in one of our episodes a prayer that I was taught, you have to have a clear intention. I'm sending loving Reiki energy healing to so and so, and you don't have to state any specific purpose. It can just be that you wish them their highest good,
yes,
because
yes,
sometimes a person will come to mind and you don't know why they come to mind. And in that moment, you just say, I haven't talked to so and so in a long time. I feel like I want to send them some good energy, send them some
yes,
love, or send them some energy for support, or send them strength, or whatever. But if you have an idea of what they may be experiencing in their life, or they have asked for you to support them, then be clear in your intention statement of what it is that you're asking spiritual energy of Reiki to deliver to them.
yes,
That's why I
absolutely.
think and I think in everything I've ever been taught and read about Reiki, it's about making sure you have a clear intention. And
Yes,
that's true with everything in life.
everything,
Because if you
absolutely.
don't know what your intention is, you'll never know if that thing worked for you. If you're just bumbling through, just doing whatever, how do you know when you
Yes.
met your goal?
Well, I also, in my belief system, intention trumps everything. So if your intention is pure and clear, if
Yes,
you say you forget the distance healing symbol, or say you any number of things you might forget in a process. If you have stated a clear intention to begin with, that will carry forward and carry forth what you had wanted or intended to happen.
absolutely. I agree.
So we're taught also, at least I had been taught in my initial teaching of passing attunements, that if you forget a step, then don't worry about it. You have set the intention initially that this person will be attuned. So if that intention trumps whatever mistakes, whatever we've forgotten. Um, so I love what you said about being clear with our intention and being mindful to state an intention. I don't know how many of us stop these days to really form an intention and state an intention and being clear about an intention for whatever action we're going to participate in, and particularly in distance healing and
Yes.
sharing Reiki as a prayer, particularly setting that intention before we send the prayer of Reiki forward. Um,
Yeah, I totally agree with all of what you've said. And just to go back for a minute, we've been talking about that in Reiki we have a distance healing symbol.
yes,
And the symbols are vibratory keys that
yes,
help us connect with a frequency. Okay. And so it's not some mumbo jumbo magic word.
yes,
This is
yes,
about science, it's about metaphysics. And so that the meaning of the distance symbol means that the bridging the distance. So
yes,
it's reminding you that even though we have this illusion of a physical distance or point of reference, as you said earlier, that symbol helps to counteract that.
yes,
And
yes,
so even whatever your illusion might be, you're there at that time. When you think of that person, you're with them.
Yes.
And they're with you. You're connected, because we don't consciously have the concept of all being connected. I think that would be a bit overwhelming if we did have that. So
Yes.
source energy knew what it was doing with that. But that symbol helps us to get past that illusion in our minds to make that connection with that person. And that's the purpose of it. However, whether you have Reiki or you have a symbol or whatever, we do
Mhm.
that naturally.
Mhm.
That's
Yes.
why when you think of somebody or you dream of somebody, it's all the same thing. But
Yes.
Reiki is a tool.
Yes.
It's a tool. And we
Yes.
already have the life force energy in us. Reiki is just a system to teach you how to use that, you know.
Yes.
Because
Absolutely.
many
And
people
how
just
to,
naturally have, that understanding. Because I remember in taking my Reiki level one, it's like, oh, I know what that is. But
Mhm.
I was given the terminology to explain it.
Yes, absolutely. Many of us had experiences as a child and growing up, or even as we were maturing, of becoming aware of our connection with a certain levels of life force energy, and certain experiences in our lives, and particularly when we're in nature, there's undeniably for me a specific experience of energy around trees, around the ocean, around the beauty of the flowers. That is life force energy being present for us and making itself available to us to experience in whatever way that, even if we're looking at the beauty of flowers, we are receiving the vibration through our
Yes,
eyes,
yes, yes,
listening to the birds, listening to music. We are the beauty of the gifts of life that bring us into a knowing of our connection with this life force energy. So
yes,
I'm so grateful. Um, I did want to bring us into another aspect of distance healing for us to share. So when we move from spontaneous, and I call it a spontaneous sharing of Reiki at a distance, when we send a prayer forward. And then Ia mentioned when we know and have spoken with a friend, that and they have uh, shared with us that they are in a particular situation, and even after the conversation, it is not as spontaneous as just thinking about someone and sending and sharing Reiki. This is another step into, I know about the situation, and I might have said to my friend, oh, I'll share Reiki with you later. Or, when I think about you, and your surgery or your job interview, or your meeting, whatever it is, I will share Reiki with you when you come to my mind. You'll be in my heart. So that is another step
yes,
in
yes,
in distance healing, where it's a little more contained, has a little more of a container than a spontaneous prayer sharing of Reiki.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So
yes.
I
I
love
love
that
that.
also. Yes. And were you wanting to add something? Because I can continue. Um,
Go ahead, go ahead. I do
yeah.
have something, but finish that train. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have when I teach Reiki too, I I usually talk about the four ways of distance healing because I have formulated in myself over the years the specific um, ways that I might participate in distance healing with another person. And so it was first very spontaneous, a prayer, um, sharing of Reiki. I'm praying as in a Reiki way. The second is acknowledging with the person that I will be sharing Reiki with them. We're not going to be at the same time in the same space, but I will send Reiki and share Reiki with you as from my heart, um, as I will, but I might have a list of folks that I'm going to be sharing Reiki with. So, but I've spoken about that with someone. And for me, the third way is, well, let me speak about the last two ways because maybe we'll put these two together. They're more scheduled. They are
Mhm.
scheduled distance healing. And one might be that someone shares with me that they're going through something or they're in pain, but they can't at that moment sit with me for a distance healing session. So I might say to them, well, at 5 o'clock tonight, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I will be sharing Reiki with you for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, a half an hour. That's scheduled. I mean,
Yes.
they know it, I know it, and this is going to happen. We're not together though. We're not on Zoom or on a phone. And the fourth way is similar to that in that the person and I are occupying physically, we see each other in the same space.
Mhm.
So, thanks to Zoom, you know, for me, distance healing became really, it grew in my life during COVID because so many folks were not coming out for um, at least they weren't in my world weren't coming out for in-person sessions.
Yeah,
So my distance healing practice just grew, and therefore we had Zoom and we could schedule appointments, just as I would schedule an appointment with someone who was coming for in person. And so that's just an overview of my particular practice and how I share and how I teach my students of the ways of distance healing.
that's powerful. Yes, I do the same things,
Yes,
and I think that also with that, it just is another demonstration of the power of understanding that we don't have to be in the same place, physical space with someone or in
yes,
sync with time with someone for it to work. Some other ways that distance healing is very, very um, apropos is that, say, for instance, there's a person who has an illness or injury where you are in the same physical space with them, but touch is just not
yes,
practical. It's
yes,
uncomfortable.
yes,
And so you can be in the same space with somebody and send the distance healing to them
yes,
by using your hands and holding your hands up if you so, or you can use it with
yes,
your mind because you can send Reiki
yes,
with your eyes, you can send
yes.
Reiki with your words, you can send Reiki. It's all about, again, that intention and your focus. And
Thank you.
another instance of sending distance healing is I do a lot of work with children,
Yes,
and they're not going to sit still
yes,
lay hands on them, and they
yeah,
shouldn't, So
yes,
the practical thing to do is if you have a child and you want to send Reiki, or if it's someone else's child and they want Reiki, is to, do it during their nap time or as they're going to bed, or if you're reading a storybook or something. But also while that child is playing, then you send the healing,
yes,
and they will receive it. And this brings up to mind a lot of people are pet lovers, pet parents, as they call
yes,
themselves.
yes,
The same thing, they will come to you.
yes,
I'm not a pet owner at this time, but I tell you, every time I go to somebody's house that has a cat or a dog, they're all
yes,
over me, But a lot of people who do Reiki with their pets, you can also use the distance techniques to send to
yes,
pets, even though they love cuddling with you as well. But it's practical because even if a person is not sick or injured, some people just have an aversion to physical touch
yes,
for different reasons. They have sensory
yes,
issues or trust issues and things like that, where you can send the healing, and you can use distance healing for groups of people. It
yes,
doesn't have to be one-on-one. You can send it in the group, and it's just a matter of how you want to set up that group. You use your imagination to create what is going to work best for you, for your intentions and whatever. I used to do Reiki circles with veterans a long time ago. And a lot of them were veterans that came together because they had trauma. And
Yes.
so it was the place I used to go, it was all men at the time. And there were a lot of them. And so there were just two of us that would go. And so it was more practical to use the distance. And we
Yes.
explained to them
Yes.
this is what we're going to do. However, if anyone did request hands-on, we would do that as well. But we set in a just like a traditional Reiki circle, and we would just send the energy around the circle because we were there with them in a physical space and we could target the energy individually, but you could also do it as a collective send.
Yes.
Well, so distance Reiki is very practical for a lot
Very.
of things,
Yes.
for a lot of reasons.
Yes.
And one of the things that I love is the flexibility of Reiki is that if you are someone who is a teacher or lecturer or whatever you give talks, you can literally send Reiki to the group to open up the connection between
Mhm.
you and that group of people so that your words and intention for your presentation can be more receptive to them, that you have
Yes.
energetic connection. So there's that
Yes.
flow so that you can meet the needs as opposed to like, well, I hope this is going to be what they want.
Yes.
Just make that energetic connection.
Yes.
Telepathically, you will know how to meet the needs of that group. That's why when Zoom first came along, it was hard for me because it was a different energy. Because I like
Mhm.
being in person and connecting with people's energy.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I had this thing in my head, how's this going to work? I don't know how this is going to work. But then after I did it a couple of times, I said, oh, it does work. I do feel connected, you know?
And that's a
Yeah.
consciousness.
Yeah. It was a
It's a growing.
consciousness shift
Yes. It
for
is a
me.
conscious shift.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I
you
was very, yeah.
go ahead.
Now, I was in agreement. I was very resistant to Zoom initially, and I was not that I was resistant to distance healing sessions by Zoom. I wasn't resistant, but I wasn't as present as because I still set it up that there is a distance between us. I'm looking at you on the screen and sending some Reiki to you, but and over time, my consciousness grew enough that as just as I'm sitting with Ia and feel very with one with her, we're here in this space at this time. I was able to grow the same consciousness of the client that I was being with, that in fact we are here in this same space at the same time, and could feel it inside of myself. So it was
Right.
no longer them and me, it was us here at the same time. And that's a growing, I don't think it happens right away. It's a conscious decision that this is how I want it to be, and then in time it grows to be that, because
Yeah.
the intention was set, remember,
Right.
intention.
The intention,
So,
that's it. That's the key.
and a couple of things, two more things I just want to briefly share. Well, I think that was one. The other is distance Reiki in a group. As a practicing doula, I would be in hospitals a lot, in birthing rooms. And that was one of the places that I really um, was grateful to have the gift of distance healing, because when I could not be close to the mom or even the dad, I shared Reiki a lot with dads um, in in birth, and I could not have my hands presently physically on them, then I certainly was able to share Reiki with them as a distance healing, and for the room, and for every nurse that came in, every doctor. So, as you might imagine, I got so much positive feedback from the medical staff about, why does this room feel so good? I mean, over and over,
Yes.
it never failed. And
Yes.
same would be in a classroom, you might enter a classroom and it's like, wow, there's something going on here that is different than in other places. And so the gift of sharing distance healing. The second point that you made that I want to speak to, I do love sending Reiki ahead of myself when I am to speak. When I'm to speak to a group or have a meeting, even on the phone,
Hmm.
I do. And I guess again, Ia, we've been practicing for so long, these ways become almost secondary or not
Right.
secondary, first,
First,
terse,
first
first or
Mary.
first, yeah, initial.
Yes,
Um, just automatically for me, if I know I'm speaking it to a group or I'm going to have a phone call or a Zoom call, I
exactly.
just share Reiki before my getting there. So
Yeah,
for the highest good, that whatever is to be communicated is communicated, and that everyone is served.
yes,
So
I agree.
yes,
Absolutely.
I love, I just love this capacity because of
Me too.
Reiki.
It is
Yes,
magical. It truly is. I want to
yes,
go back to one thing when I was talking and you were in agreement about it's a mind shift. It's a
yes,
mind shift for those of us who are elders before we had
yes,
this technology of
yes,
the internet. We grew up in an era before any of this. It wasn't even thought of when we were
yes,
growing. And then it became something like, oh wow, isn't that unique? And I remember in the days when Star Trek first came out and they had these transponders and they had this,
yes,
that, and the other, and they could communicate. It's like, oh wow. And then decades later, when cell phones came out, like, oh my goodness, look at this.
here it
And
is.
so it is a mind shift for those of us who came to of age in the eras before we had this technology. But for
Yes,
the young people of today, it's just automatic. It's their
yes.
reality. But for us, it was a shift. So I just wanted
Thank you.
to say that for those who may be listening and say, what are they talking about? We're old people, okay? We're elders. That's why it's called wisdom of the elders. And so a lot of our reference might be to a time that you all never experienced if
Yes,
you're, beyond a certain age. So I did want to say that. But
thank you.
also, when you were talking about sending the Reiki ahead, just now, and I had mentioned it earlier, is that if you are a person who connects with the power of prayer,
Mhm.
and if you practice any type of energy healing, you understand it to a different degree.
Yes,
And
yes,
Reiki is just one of those tools to understand energy to the next degree because we are
yes.
energetic beings. And so our thoughts, our words, our
Mhm.
actions are all based on us manipulating energy, on us
Yes,
interacting with different energies. So when you study something such as Reiki healing, it's one of those things that just amps your understanding and your ability to connect on different
yes,
levels of frequency. So if you're someone who's wondered about Reiki like I did, why do I need that?
yes,
I didn't understand it until I actually stepped into it. And then I realized, oh my gosh, this just magnifies everything that I already knew. I
yes.
had studied some other energy healing things, but then when Reiki called me forth and I listened, finally, it has just changed the whole game, of my understanding of
Yes.
Reiki and what it can do to enhance our understanding of who we are in this universe. You know,
Well,
it just really changes the everything
it
of
changes
understanding.
everything, Ia, and I'm so grateful you brought this point up because you're speaking again of the personal evolution of us as Reiki practitioners. And again, maybe because we're elders or because we've practiced for a long time, the initial for me, and I'm not, on my lineage and my initial attunements in the early 90s, the intention at that time was a hands-on healing practice and technique, and that the I there was not for me at that time the understanding was not taught the understanding of our oneness with this life force energy, this Reiki energy. Yes, we are channeling the energy, but we are the energy and we are one with the energy. So that grows over time, or you might be now being taught that, but it still moves from a concept. Oh yeah, okay, so I'm one with the energy. Okay, so it begins as a concept, and then we embody it, so that as Ia and I have been talking, prayerfully, you can feel the energy of our experience of this oneness with Reiki energy, where we know we are not separate from it. Therefore, we know you're not separate from it. Therefore, we know that when we share Reiki at a distance, there is a oneness of it all happening at the same time. So
Yes.
that's in this moment. Those are the words that I can come up with. But I'm just so grateful that you brought that piece forward. That of our evolution, of the evolution of the way Reiki is being taught, and maybe at some point there's going to, I'm sure there will be more evolution.
I
Um,
agree. Yeah.
I I want to bring forward now. It's a little, well, it's in the alignment. A episode or two ago, Ian and I spoke about ancestry
Hmm.
and Reiki lineage. I want to speak right now about our ancestors and our deities and the angels, or who all of the spiritual beings that we feel connected with and that we call on, and particularly the ancestors, and the capacity of Reiki and the intention that is with distance healing for us to really connect, for us to feel the connection, experience that connection as we would with someone who we're sharing distance healing with. Because the whole intention in distance healing is that we are one, there is no separation, distance, or space between us. So why can't we just extend that to all of those beings in spirit who
Yes.
are with us, and receive from them and share with them, because they also appreciate our sharing our love with them.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
I'm as we've been talking, you really, we have this oneness anyhow, but you just help bring me into this space
Yes.
of of being of this being one with life force energy, being Reiki, and that extends to those beings in spirit who are always with us.
Yes, absolutely. So maybe in our next episode, we'll talk more
Yes,
about that.
yes, that's what I'm feeling.
Yes, yes. I just wrote it down. So
Yes,
because
awesome.
this is a great segue to that. And I think it was
Yes,
our last episode we did talk about the ancestors. And so it looks like we're on this journey. But also I want to add, and as we begin to wrap up with our final comments, that for me, Reiki has been the energy that helps me to project and to connect on such a level. I'm not sure how I want to say this, but it's like it has its own force within me and it's a guide.
yes,
So it's like
yes,
it tells me what it wants me to do. And
yes,
I want to say that also in another way. It's like my intuition because most people will who've ever experienced working with the energy of Reiki, the more you work with that energy, the more your spiritual
yes,
gifts, even though I really have a challenge with that word because
yes,
it's not a gift, it's just who we are. And
exactly.
we all have them that we deal with in different ways. But anyway, that's another conversation. But it's like my intuition will always tell me, and I connect with that as Reiki because it's like it's enhanced since I've received Reiki,
Same,
and it
yes.
guides everything that I do. And I'll just say, thank you. Oh, wow. So it's like takes on its own energy as going before me. Yes, this is where you want to go. Yes, do that. Yes, do that. And
Mhm.
making those connections and those synchronicities. And it's like, oh my gosh. And that's one of the powers that I have appreciated about that concept of the energy that is enhanced by practicing.
Yes.
Reiki on a
Yes.
consistent basis, that everything is heightened. You
Yes.
know, we
Everything.
pray every day, oh, please,
Yes.
whatever source energy you connect with, show me what it is I need to do today.
Yes.
And the days that I do my Reiki, I have a greater connection to that source. You
Yes.
know, it's a
Absolutely.
guide for the day. Things just automatically seem to be falling in place. And so, because I see Reiki as prayer,
Yes.
it's rare. Prayer, Reiki, they're interchangeable to me, you
Yes.
know.
Absolutely. Same here. Reiki, it's it's a way of living. It's a way of being. In our case, as you just said, that it's interchangeable. So it doesn't, we call on Reiki or we invoke Reiki. But those of us who have grown and evolved with Reiki, we live it so that it comes to mind for us um, to utilize, to be with, to share. It comes to mind first. It doesn't, it's not something we have to say, oh yeah, Reiki.
You know,
It's just,
that's right.
it's like,
Yeah,
oh, okay, boom.
yeah.
Yeah. So
It just is. It
it
just
just
is.
is. And to me, it's the foundation for all the other tools that we might use in our healing practices and our spiritual practices. Reiki um, grounds us in a foundation of
Yeah.
great deep connection with source energy, with universal life force energy. So,
Ashe.
yes, ashe and blessings. Thank you, my beloved.
Thank you, Iya. It's been a pleasure as always. And thank you all for joining us for another
Yes,
episode of Wisdom of the Elders.
thank you so much.